Hey friends, you're listening to the Live with Audacity podcast. I'm your host, Melissa Stewart, and this episode is something I looked forward to recording for weeks. Chandler Hatchett is a God-loving woman who turned a successful blog around wellness into an online media publication called The H is For. We talk a lot about God and running from Him and His calling, learning to have faith that He has it all under control, and some cool things that have happened since doing so. Now, I have to warn you, we recorded this on a day when we had massive storms moving through Texas. She is actually in Dallas and I am near Houston. And we kept losing connection, so the recording is a little choppy. I truly believe our conversation will move mountains in someone's life, and the devil himself was just trying to keep us from getting it out there. But we persevered and we got it done. So if you are spiritual at all, please listen to this episode and muddle through it, because I promise you are going to get a whole lot of goodness shot straight to your heart. You're listening to the Live with Audacity podcast. I'm your host, Melissa Stewart. Audacity is defined by Merriam-Webster as intrepid boldness or disregard for normal constraints. And that's exactly what we have here. The Live with Audacity podcast is aimed at giving you the courage to explore your someday dreams, do things your way, and start making things happen in your life right now. I'm a mama of 4 kiddos ranging from college student to kindergartner, wife to a high school football and track coach, and a multi-passionate entrepreneur. Together with my guests, we're going to teach you how to live with audacity and intentionality, discover and utilize your unique skills and talents, and step into who you are meant to be in order to make your someday dreams a reality. Are you ready? Here we go. Hey everyone, thank you so much for coming back to the Live with Audacity podcast. I am so incredibly excited to have Miss Chandler Hatchett here today. I was so blessed to get to go to the Dallas Rise conference in July, and it was so amazing and wonderful. And one of the pump up people was Chandler, and it was so awesome. It was so fun to watch you get everyone pumped up and ready to just. Rachel always says, you got to change your body to change your mental state. And so it was super fun to start off the day or after lunch with that workout and all that stuff. So that was super fun. Chandler is actually the editor-in-chief of The H is For. Chandler, tell us a little bit about that and how you got to where you are now.
Yes, awesome. Thanks for having me. This is so exciting and so fun. The H is For is a lifestyle and faith and wellness publication online and community, and it aims to inspire, encourage, and equip women to live well in all aspects of life. It started off as a lifestyle and wellness blog about 5 years ago, and has transitioned over the past year, really over the past 3 or 4 months, into a full-blown online publication. So I'm bringing in other women's voices. So I've transitioned from the blogger to an editor-in-chief and founder. And so it's also a ministry as well. So we talk heavy on the faith, because we believe that living well, you can eat well all you want, you can work out all you want, but if you're angry person, or you're harboring resentment and you have somebody, or you're not loving yourself, care of yourself from a mental health perspective, you're not live well. And so we want to encourage women to like incorporate wellness by treating the entire woman, not just eating healthy and working out, but also relationally, emotionally, and spiritually as well.
I love that so much. Yeah. And it's funny that we're talking about this right now. I actually went live in my group today to, because, I'm doing the podcast and I love it so much. I get to talk to amazing women like you. And so I've just, people ask me all the time, how are you going to monetize this? What are you going to do? And I'm like, I don't know. I just feel called. I feel like God is calling me to do this and get these amazing women's stories out there. So I actually went live in my group today to say, look, I am want to focus a lot on my faith and also the woo, as they call it, the manifestation and mindset and all that stuff. And then also the science of how it all works together and how it's all backed by science. And, even having that faith is so good for your mind and all this stuff. So
Yeah.
I'm so glad that you're talking about that. And that's what you're basing the H's for on. That's so
Right.
cool.
Yeah, and like and just to add on that, like for example, gratitude. There are so many studies that show that practicing gratitude is actually like does makes the same chemical changes as taking a Xanax or like boosting your serotonin levels, things like that, in terms of lowering anxiety, um, overall happiness booster. And gratitude is, to me, the utmost one of the highest up there attributes of Christianity, that we are supposed to be, as Christians, practicing gratitude. And you read Paul's letters to all the different churches, and he talks about how he understands how to be content in all circumstances. And it's truly having gratitude, thanking God for what you do have and what he has done in your life. And so that's just like one example of like a Christian attribute, moral, I'm trying a characteristic
Mhm.
that actually there's science that backs up how good it is for your body chemically and everything else. So yeah,
Yeah, it's so cool that and I've been on this journey for about 2 years now, and yeah, I mean, when you can just go out into the world and be like, "Man, I'm so grateful it's raining because we'll have flowers soon," and, just little tiny things can just really, affect your entire mood and your mindset, especially when things start to kinda go south a little bit. You're like, "No, no, no, no. Let me just be grateful for all the super awesome things."
yeah.
Yeah, I love that. How did you come up with the name for, The H is For? I love it.
It's so funny too. Like I came up with the name, like it's super unique, like no one's gonna have it. And that's the truth. But it is so funny when people ask me, like, what's your Instagram handle? I'm like, the his for, yeah. So uncomfortable. People, and I have people be like, "Oh my goodness, I'm so proud of you for all you're doing with the his for." And I'm like, "Oh." But yes, so there is a verse in the Bible.
I'm sorry, that just cracks me up. That's hilarious. Okay.
It's so true. It's like I wish I could give people marketing like advice, but literally don't take my advice on that because it's
Right?
really um so anyway, um there's a verse in the Bible, Luke 2:52. It's the only verse in the entire Bible that tells us about Jesus's life between his childhood and his ministry. Out of all of, there's four entire books just about Jesus's life, and only one verse total in the entire book that tells us about how and it's that Jesus grew in wisdom and stature and favor with God, man. And even if you're not a Christian, and if there are plenty of Christians that have told you by the way they've acted that Christianity is not worth following, I think we can all agree that somebody who modeling ourselves after will only do us good. And so I took those four attributes of life, and I thought that those were a really great model for holistic wellness. And I want to grow the way Jesus did. So
I love that.
stature, Jesus, wisdom, so intellectually, stature, physically, in favor with God, spiritually, and in favor with man, relationally. And I wanted to make that applicable to the modern, specifically millennial woman who I'm super passionate about. And so I created 5 different attributes that fit in with those 4. I added parenting
Ooh, I like
because
that.
that's life.
It's
So
huge.
yeah, the H is for hot mama, which is
So
beauty
cute.
and natural wellness and travel. Happy baby, which is parenting. Healthy living, that's eating healthy and working out and all that stuff that goes with it. Um, Homemaking, which is, taking pride in your home, taking care of your home, building your home, but then more importantly, opening your home to others and
Ooh.
inviting others. And then the last one is heartwarming. That's the spiritual and relational. We talk about marriage and relationships and friendships and family friendships, but then most specifically, the spiritual growth as well, and encouraging women to grow in their spiritual walk. So, yeah, that
That's
to
so
me is about as well rounded as it can get. So that
yeah.
is what it is for, and that's always been that. Even when it was a blog, it's just now I'm bringing other. There are other women that have demonstrated they've adopted the same type of lifestyle, and they have so much great things to share that I couldn't even begin to share on. It's been really cool opening that up for them.
That's so cool. Okay, so what brought you to the place where you were like where you wanted to start the blog in the first place?
Yeah. My husband, he
Oh,
told
that's
me
so cool.
for like a year that I should start a blog. So about 10 years ago, I was diagnosed with autoimmune disease, and some secondary diseases that come alongside the couple of primary ones that I've got, and thyroid issues and celiac disease, all this stuff. So 10 years ago, I started my own journey of how to change my environment, because the environment that I was living in, from the foods I ate to the things I filled my house with, they were making me sick. So I went on this kind of wellness journey on my own. Met and married my husband, who has a background as a professional athlete, and so fitness was really important to him. It was not important to me, but I understood that in our marriage, that was something we would uh, that would fill our marriage very beautifully if I came alongside him in that. And so then I kind of fell in love with fitness as well. And I had all these people who I was 10 years ahead of the curve and practicing these wellness practices, these fitness practices. And I'm noticing a lot of my friends are starting to listen, I should stop eating gluten. My doctor said that I should eat paleo, things like that. How did you do it? So sharing all these things that I had learned along the way, to do challenges, paleo challenge, keto challenge. I like loved to try it all and see how it changed my body. And so anyways, I was like, you really should put all this in writing, because you're having these same conversations with everybody. And
Yeah, over and over.
I never, I didn't know I didn't read blogs. I didn't follow influencers or anything on the internet. And so my husband, he did. So he was like, you should do this. So
Yeah.
uh, why I started it. And I always is a way to add value to somebody's life instead of really just like showing what I'm doing. I really wanted every post to be a value add. And so I think that's why it grew as quickly as it did. And it has transitioned into more of a community feel now.
So cool. I love that so much. Man, that's so cool that he could see your potential before you could really see your potential. I think that's so cool.
100%. And we were speaking at an event, and they wanted to speak about community and dream defenders. It's a term that one of my dear friends, Jen Jett, coined. She does a thing called Camp Well, which is the most amazing women's retreat for dreamers and doers. She talks about dream defenders and how if you have a dream worth doing, you have to have someone who's going to defend your dream alongside you. And I spoke at this event, and they were like, who are your dream defenders? And I was like, my publication is for women by women, and my two biggest dream defenders are men. Like my husband, number one, and then another one is my cousin's husband, who like helps me redesign the website, things going, is like always encouraging me. It's crazy, it's really fun to watch men come behind and come alongside me as a woman doing something that serves women so well. Like, it wouldn't have happened without men.
Yeah, I love that you point that out. And I feel like, a lot of times we are, we're so on, as women, at least in my experience, we're so on the defensive of, um, we can do all this stuff and we have a purpose and we have people that we need and want to serve. And typically we serve women because those are the people that need us the most, I think. But it's
Yeah.
so powerful to have such a strong, first of all, marriage and a super awesome husband that helps you and guides you and just even in your heart to say like, yeah, you're on the right track. You know, a lot of times we just need someone to be behind us and be like, no, you're doing good. You're fine.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think too, it's really, I think there's a shift. I think it's starting to happen in this world. Like there's never been a better woman, and it's so exciting.
Yeah.
But Bible study last night, we were talking about when woman was created, and it says that Adam needed a helper, and I'd always read helper like never ever did I feel I was born to be a helper, and I felt, and I honestly felt guilty for not like, oh my goodness, I'm like not a good woman if I don't like identify with helper. When you go and you read the word, the Hebrew word azer is in the Old Testament 21 times, and only 2 of them describe, you know, actual like creating Eve as a helper, woman as a helper for a man. The rest of them have to do with seeking help by bringing in other warriors for to go to fight on behalf of Israel. Like 16 of them or something refer to God as our help. And so God is our protector, our defender, our warrior. And that same Azer is used when he talks about creating a woman. And it blew my mind because I
Mm.
thought, women, I always thought like a helper was to like come, you know, to help the men do the work. Reality is we were created to do it alongside one another and to cheer each other on, because we're not sufficient without the other. And so I feel like I'm starting to hear stories like these, but I love that, you know, when I have men who have come alongside me in this journey, they're acknowledged that I am a warrior and I am reflecting God's image, and they want to cheer me on in that, just as I should be cheering on all of my brothers.
Right.
And they're calling. So I don't know. I don't know why I felt like I should say that, but I just really think it's
I
interesting.
love
If you
it.
felt like as a woman that the term helper doesn't define you, we are to help each other. It's we're equals and we're running the same race, and we should come alongside each other in that. And so for so long I felt like women were kind of led to believe this is your area, you go play in it. But I love so
I
much
agree.
that I couldn't play in my area without men.
Yeah, totally. And I love that someone like you is realizing that and then can help the rest of us really realize it too. I actually have it above me, so I'm going to grab it real quick. Hold on. I got this book over the summer. It was very strange how it all came about, but this guy that I work part time for, his wife passed away over the summer, and as a tribute to her, he had me type up a lot of this book of this. It's called God's Blueprint for Marriage. It's called Nova Shalom, God's Blueprint for Marriage, and I am 100% the person that's like, you are not going to tell me what to do. I am my own person and I'm not here to serve you, you know, that sort of thing. You know, it just, I don't know. I don't know why I was born that way. It just was. And so when he gave me this book and I was typing it, there's so much information in here about the exact thing that you were talking about how um, women weren't made to just serve the man. We are made to um, protect them, help protect them, and help, like you said, defend them against, you know, outside forces, and really to, yes, be a helper, but to help them be the leader of our family.
Yes.
That was so powerful for me. It
Yeah.
really was.
It's like it took the guilt away from me. I always felt guilty for being like a strong, outspoken, bold woman. I
Yeah.
felt like it wasn't a place for me, or that I was supposed to kind of hold myself back a little bit. And then I've been reading this book by Kat Armstrong called No More Holding Back. And that's actually the book we were talking about last night at Bible study when we were talking about Azer. Kat is just so beautifully emboldens women in this book. And talks about marriage too, and that we're not talking about the wiring of the human when we talk about um like Azer and how women were designed and made. We're not talking about like our insides and what makes us different than men. We're talking about purpose and why we were placed on this earth. And it's because we come alongside each other. And then the wiring is the fact that we're very different people.
Very different.
Very different, but they complement each other so beautifully, and that we really truly need each other. We do. And so I just love it, love it.
Hey y'all, so I actually lost Chandler here for just a couple of minutes, but I wanted to jump in and just say that I am building my entire business on the idea that we all have our unique gifts and talents, and we can use those to serve the world, and that is where we find our purpose. I point this out because I think the same is true in marriage. We have our own unique skills and gifts and talents, and together we can work together, whether it's a male female marriage or a female female marriage or a male male marriage. It doesn't really matter. The point is that we all have our unique gifts and talents, and we can all use them to serve our families and the world together. So just keep that in mind. I just wanted to point that out. Okay, here we go. Okay, so we were just talking about how cool it is that we get to walk alongside our husbands and how amazing they are. And man, thank goodness for men, right? I mean, it's so easy to get in the place that it has been easy for me in the past to get into the place where it's like not men as a general, but like certain men, or just like get that feeling like, man, you just have it so good and things are so easy for you. So I love that we're talking about that. It really is just about us coming alongside each other and really helping each other to grow. So I think that's so cool.
And it's not done well always. In fact, I would say the majority of times it's not done well. So I think it's worth celebrating when it is done well. That needs to be said too, because
absolutely,
that's not the case for everyone. So it just happens to be the case for me.
And me. I really believe that. My husband is, man, he's the most supportive person in the whole world, to me at least. And, even when he's like, well, I don't know about that, he's still like, you know what, whatever you think you need to do or whatever. And he always backs me up. So I'm super grateful for him.
Yeah.
Tell me about a time where you wish you would have had the courage to do something sooner. Like has there ever been a time where, like with your blog, and you thought about it, is there anything that you wish you would have had the courage to do sooner?
Oh my gosh, so many.
I know, right?
About having children.
Oh, cool. That's not mine.
I wish I had children sooner, but I mean, that's just me personally. But when it comes to the blog, I started the blog. Yes, my faith was part of it, but I definitely felt called to ministry for a very long time, and I ignored that calling for a very long time.
Can I ask you real quick, while you were ignoring that, what was happening in your life? Because I feel like that's been a huge theme in my life lately, is like, stop ignoring me. I'm here. This is happening.
Yeah. I think, well, first of all, I've ignored God plenty in my life, and I've had experience that if he wants to get your attention, he's going to get your attention. And so, I just read something, and it was like, delayed obedience is disobedience. So that's, if you're in a season where you feel like you're ignoring a nudge from the spirit, or you're ignoring God's calling on your life, like, disobedience is disobedience. But that's kind of what finally got me. What was happening in my life was that I didn't want to be that person. I didn't want to be like the Christian girl. I had finally built this platform. People knew what I believed, and I felt like that was enough. And my family in the faith, and I was leading Bible study and serving women in the church. And for me, the actual act of calling it the M word really weirded me out. I didn't want to be that person. But I felt specifically the call to be really vulnerable and honest about publicly, which I did not want to do.
That is so
Scary.
hard, right?
And then I also felt, and specifically, and after I went to Camp Well, it was at Camp Well actually that I talked to you about, that I really felt like, okay, I'm acknowledging that this is a thing. I'm acknowledging that you've been calling on me, and I'm gonna step into it. I'm gonna step into it in faith, because Camp Well did a really good job of surrounding me with other women who were just as weird as me, who were also running after their callings. Didn't feel alone. That's, I think, a big part of what I felt like I was unequipped. I felt like I wasn't good enough. I felt like maybe my intentions were wrong. I kept thinking, well, no, I don't want to like go and do this public speaking about Jesus. I'm too prideful. I'm going to make it about me. All of these things in the back of my mind were all these kind of ways that I was believing and allowing to keep me from actually believing what it says about me and believing what his word says, that we're capable of doing because of grace. And so I ran from it for a very long time. And then when I surrendered to it and finally surrendered to God, my prayer was like, hey, Lord, I surrender to you. Take care of everything. You just take care of the rest. And let me tell you, he has. If anybody looks at my life and says, whoa, she's doing something awesome, they are wrong. It has nothing to do with me. All that I have done is said, okay.
Hey, y'all. So, of course, I lost Chandler here again, but no worries. I get her back in just a second. But I just wanted to jump in here real quick and just say that if you've ever struggled with imposter syndrome or scared that you're doing things out of wanting visibility or attention or notoriety or something like that, and you feel like your ego might take over, I too am struggling with that or have struggled with that. And I just want to jump in here and say that God calls you to a purpose for a reason, and he made you the way that he made you for a reason. And I just really think that when we keep our focus on using those talents and skills, that we can't go wrong. Okay, so we were talking about how you ignored your calling on your life for so long.
Yes. So I think what I was went out is that I was so afraid that I was not equipped, and I was so afraid that I was going to fail, and I was so afraid that I didn't have the stamina or the ability to actually commit and follow through, being a new mom and all this stuff. And I'm realizing now all of those fears were just kind of plain dumb, because all that it required was for me to surrender and then just be willing to stay close to him, be faithful in every single step, and he puts the things in place that need to happen. I've had to work hard, but it has become more of like just a part of everyday life. I thought it was going to be this big to do, and I didn't
Right.
feel equipped for it. And so I don't know how to explain it. It's the hardest. It's the most it's been the easiest to transition in terms of workload, but it has required a lot of stamina in terms of staying focused, staying like doing the right thing, doing the next right thing, staying right there with God. And it's like, we're in this together, and he is doing the rest. So my fears were just like completely invalid, completely.
I'm just, this conversation couldn't come at a better time, because I totally feel like I'm right there, and that I'm, just like, I'm so worried about the how right now of how it's all going to happen and how am I going to make money and all this stuff. And I'm like, I've been journaling my butt off about like, I don't know, I just got to release this and just keep doing what, he's telling me to do. And so, man, it feels so good to be able to relate to somebody that has been there and just said, nope, I'm just going to keep taking the next right step. And he always
Right.
provides.
And I have to say too, like I felt over a year ago, I felt called to quit my job and to pursue ministry. But my husband had some very honest, and if I was like, okay, if God's saying it, I'm ready. Like I've learned to do this. And my husband was like, hold up. Like we have a plan in place. We've got to figure this out. And uh, knowing that my biggest defender, my biggest dream defender, who understands that this is not, nothing to do with me, that it is all God, and who trusts in God with all his heart. When he was saying slow your roll, like just because God's calling you to something right now, maybe some of the lesson is in that it's going to be a slower roll than what you're expecting.
Mm-hmm.
So my prayers had to be, all right, Lord, I know when my husband's on board with this step, that's your sign to go, go, go. And so I'm just going to continue to be faithful in this season in my work, and then faithful in preparing next steps are in ministry. So I started speaking at women's groups. That was when I first kind of felt the call to like transition this into an online publication. So I started putting those kind of in place, and then God provided in ways when I gave it to him and said, all right, I trust that your timing is the timing. Just know, like, here am I, Lord, and I'm willing. God provided everything in terms of allowing me to step away right when I needed to step away. We had a launch date set for August 16th. And in June, my boss called me and was like, listen, are you happy? I don't know if you're happy in this, and I want to give you through paid leave to figure it out.
What?
I mean, I was like, wait, what? And then my husband, some things happened, some provision happened in his job. And it was literally like God opened in ways I could have.
Hey y'all, guess what? I lost Chandler here again. But real quick, just want to jump in here and say, isn't it so cool to hear her story about how God provided and he really moved in her life once she got really clear on the direction that she was headed and that she wanted to serve God's purpose for her life. I think that's so cool. And guess what? There's more to come on that. Hi. Girl, no worries. We're just, you know what? We are powering through. The devil is trying to keep us from this because he knows how awesome it is.
I think so.
I really believe that. I totally believe that. So, you know what? We just got to power through. That's so awesome. Well, look, thank you so much for staying resilient and, tenacious and pursuing this with me. I really appreciate it. I think it's going to be so great and huge for other people to be able to hear exactly what I'm needing to hear right now. So I know if I need to hear it, then I'm sure there are tons of other people that need to hear it too. So let's talk about a time that you felt like you failed, but really it turned out to be something that was like God's provision and just really led you to where you're supposed to be.
Okay. Well, that old job. So I was teaching for 4 years. At the end of that fourth year, I knew I needed to either find a new school or find a new job. And out of the blue, I got this amazing job offer to work from home doing sales. My boss was unbelievable. The company was amazing. I loved everything about it. And I had everything set and ready to go to be really, really successful in it. And I would bring, for 3 years, I brought huge deals to the table. And then we'd get to the very end and something would happen. The client would back away. They would take another opportunity. Like I literally, every single deal I brought to the table was like a shoe-in, amazing, life-changing deal, like would have put commission in my pocket for so much time. And then it wouldn't happen. Every single one for 3 years. And so, I mean, to the point where my bosses were like, we can't even explain this. And I just kept turning to my husband and saying, I can't explain this, and they can't explain it. Like, I'm telling you, I think this is God. I think this is God. But me, I'm a type 3 on the Enneagram. Like, everything to me is success or failure. So all of these goals I was setting for myself in this sales role, I was failing and failing and failing. I mean, I was doing all the work. I was putting it there. I was taking it with a red pen, and then it wouldn't happen. And so I felt like a failure in a lot of different ways. I felt like I was letting my company down. I felt like I was letting my family down. I was, all this stuff that I was just not, it wasn't happening. And so I felt like such a failure in that. And now hindsight's 2020 and I see the Lord's provision in it. He brought that opportunity for me because it allowed me to stay home and work from home and to also build the brand that I'd already started with the HS Sport and get it to a really great spot. And then also because I was home working this job, I was able to go to camp well. I was able to pour into community and really step into this call to ministry. And then even more so, this job in the goodness of my bosses, who I don't think are believers like they knew what I was doing, but I don't think it really mattered to them. It's not like they felt some sort of heart tugging to like help me in this.
Yeah.
They'd feel some sort of need to like help me provide for me like a safe time for me to transition away from that, which was unheard of.
Right. Totally.
So I'm like, I see God in all of that. And I do feel like there was a significant lesson for me to learn being a control freak, being a perfectionist, being a success versus failure type of person, for God to kind of put me in a season of stagnant, a season of waiting, a season of failure after failure after failure, for me to lean on him and to realize that it has nothing to do with me. Like I literally am in control of nothing except for how I react and love people. So yeah, that is
So
great.
cool.
I have the perfect answer for that. Like the last 3 years of my life.
I love that so much. Oh man, it's so cool to be able to look back and be like, dang it, I wish I could have seen that. You know what I mean? This whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So cool. Tell me how you came to be on Rachel Hollis's stage. I think that's so neat.
Let me tell you another thing where I had been praying, God, I just surrender this to you. You take care of everything. And so I got that call from my boss at the end of June and, really the middle of June. And the next week I said, well, then let's spend the summer. If I'm working from home and you're working from home, let's take the kids and let's spend the summer in the mountains. And so we did. We went up to my family's cabin in the mountains and we spent the whole summer up there. So
That's
it was like 3 days after my boss had called me and had essentially given me the green light. And on the drive to Colorado, my friend who I'd known through Soul Cycle, he and his husband are very close with the Hollises. In fact, he works for the Hollis group.
Chris Chandler?
Yeah, well, Chris Chandler, his husband Brad.
Oh, cool.
I knew Chris too. I do know Chris. I love him to death.
Yeah.
But it was Brad that I had really built a relationship through working on some partnerships with Soul Cycle. And so Brad called me and was like, hey, we're looking for somebody, specifically someone in the fitness world in Dallas to kind of pump up the crowd. Do you know somebody? And I was like,
yeah, me.
well, I didn't. I actually said, you need to call Martha. Martha Palacios is like, she is the only person I know who could like get up on that stage and who could like just exude so much.
Blow it up.
7,500 women are like inspired. And she does what she does so well. And he was like, okay, great. Do you know of anybody else? And like, I didn't really feel equipped for it. And I just felt this like feeling in my gut to like, yes, cheer for yourself, encourage for yourself, be your cheerleader, put yourself out there. So I said, well, what about me too? Martha and I could do it together.
Yeah.
He was like, great. I was like, great. I don't know. Okay, perfect. So yeah, it was the really.
Were you just like, holy cow, I can't believe that happened?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, 100%. Got that. He called me a few days later to confirm because he sent our information to Rachel, and anyways, when he called me, I just started crying, and I told my mom, I was like, this just happened. And I think everyone in my family at that point, like they believe, they love God, they believe God, our faith. I was raised in the faith, but like when they actually saw God perform what I had been saying, like, you don't understand, Mom, I'm not doing any of this. It has nothing to do with me.
Okay, real quick, I want to ask you a couple of rapid fire questions.
Yes.
What is a book, article, or person that changed your life?
A book, article, or person that changed my life.
Or a talk.
or a talk? Geez, now I'm on the spot. Okay. So many. Um, the book would be Purpose Driven Life. I read it in high school.
Okay.
Changed my life by Rick Warren. The person would be Jen Jett, who runs the camp well that I've talked about 100 times. I might
Which, by the way, I'm going to put the link in the show notes, but
totally.
I totally want to sign up for that.
It changed everything for me. And in fact, I have to say the entire experience of Camp Well should answer all of that. Like it just changed everything for me. I can't. And so she's one of my dear friends, and bringing her into my life, that was a game changer. It changed everything. So yeah, I would say Camp Well, and then my friendship with Jen. Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay. What is your favorite Friday night at home?
Oh, favorite Friday night at home? Pizza.
You're like, what is that?
Pizza, jammies, a fire in the fireplace, and Tito's and soda.
Ooh, I love it. I love it so much.
Yes,
That's so cool.
The kids are already asleep.
Yes, please. Pretty please. No, it's not terrible. It's called Mom Life. Like, I just need some peace.
Yes.
What was your dream job as a kid?
I wanted to be a country singer.
I could totally see that.
Like, do you watch Dancing with the Stars? I see like Lauren Elena, and I'm like, you are me. That's exactly what
Right.
I wanted to be, was you.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. So I grew up dancing, right? So of course, Dancing with the Stars, we used to just watch it like religiously.
Yeah.
We had to sit down and watch it. That and The Bachelorette for a while, but okay. So what is your next vacation that you're planning with your family?
We're going back up to Colorado for Christmas this year.
Awesome. That's so cool.
We're gonna drive again. We drove this summer. We're gonna drive and spend probably 3 weeks up there in the winter, this winter. So
Is that hard with the kids to drive that far?
we have done a really great job of traveling with our kids so much that they're just really good travelers. But would I, say it's easy, everyone should do it? No.
No way.
But we found a groove. We do the entire thing in one day,
wow.
which is equal parts exhausting, but it also like makes sense.
And it just gets it over with.
Yeah. So it's like 15 hours in the car, knock it out, and then we're there. So
do you guys get up in the middle of the night to leave?
Yeah, we leave it
right, because then your kids can sleep through most of it.
Yes, and they do, and they sleep just fine through it. So like we usually leave about 3 a.m. and then by the time we get to 8 a.m., we're either halfway across the panhandle of Texas, or we're through New Mexico, about to enter into the panhandle in Texas. So it's like
so cool.
The majority of the drive is done, which is nice.
That's so great.
Yeah,
I love that. Okay, what is your best advice to help our listeners live with audacity?
Okay. It's a verse. It's verse
okay.
2 Timothy 1:7. And it is, God did not give you a spirit of timidity, but one of power, one of love, and one of discipline. And I go back to that verse all the time when I'm having moments of like, I can't do this, I'm not enough, or I'm not good enough, I'm not equipped, or I'm too scared. And I wasn't born with a spirit of being scared. I wasn't born with a spirit of being shy or timid. I was born to be powerful and bold and courageous and disciplined and to love people. That is literally how I was knit together, and that's how you were knit together too. And so living with audacity, yes, it's a decision because this world convinces us not to, but it's a decision that should be really, really easy to make because that is who you were wired to be. There you go.
So awesome that you brought up that verse. I cannot wait to post it everywhere. Because you know what? It's so, I grew up taking myself to church, but because I started to go to church late, every Sunday school class I ever went to was like, oh, you guys know that story already. You have heard that story already. And I mean, I started taking myself at like 8 years old to church. My mom would walk me across the street. So I don't know a lot of the biblical stories, but I love it when people bring a verse out, or it just happens across me or whatever, and it shows that all the things that I want to talk about and teach people and encourage people to do, it's all right there in the Bible already. And so it just solidifies like, yes, girl, you're on the right path. So
Yes.
man, thank you so much
And
for
I
that.
have to say that, so I run a Bible study. We meet on Wednesday nights. We meet on Facebook. I live stream, and then
Yay!
there's a group that meets in Dallas. So if you're in Dallas, like totally come. It's the most awesome, diverse, wonderful group of women. But we decided last night that we're going to actually read the Bible in 1 year next year. We're going to do it
I
together.
love that.
So I encourage you, just hearing you say that, there are stories that you don't feel like you knew or have any idea of. But anybody, like I grew up Baptist. I could have told you every story, how Jesus reacted, why he walked on water, who he was with in the boat. Like I could have told you all that stuff. But until I read the Bible from front to back, like all the way through, it didn't like click for me. It all made sense. It's a love story. It's one really long, beautiful love story. It changed everything for me. So we're actually going to do it together.
That's so cool.
It's terrifying because I'm leading this. And so I'm saying this out loud. Everyone's welcome to join us. And I'll show you which Bible to buy, because it's like a special, broken apart into readings, but it's awesome. And it was a great practice. So I encourage you to do that. It's 15 minutes a day, but it really will shape everything for you.
I totally will do that, because I actually wrote that down the other day. Like, I need to learn better what the stories are and how they interact with each other. I actually started reading Jamie Ivy's book, If You Only Knew.
Yes.
And she talks in that book about Saul becoming Paul. Well, I had never known that before. Like, I never knew that before. And so when I read that story in there, now, do you know that story presents itself to me all the time?
Yes.
Yeah.
Crazy. Like his word is really living, like almost in like a freaky way where you're like, okay,
right.
what?
I know, it's so cool. And I think that's why I'm just so, I don't want to say obsessed, that sounds silly, but just so into it, just because I know it's there. I just got to figure out where it is. So that's so cool. I'm so glad you brought that up. Where can people find more information about you and the H is for?
Okay, so if you want to go to the HS4, it's www.thehs4.com, or the his4 if you
You know what? You could actually say the his for, because it's for him. It's for God. Exactly.
Oh, done.
It totally works.
Yes. And then the HS4 on Instagram is at the his4. And then me myself, I'm at Chandler.Hatchett. And so you can follow me and my family on our crazy adventures. Life is
super awesome. Thank you so much for spending your time with me, and I just so super appreciate it. I needed this so badly today, so I just thank you so much for hanging out with me. I appreciate it more than you will probably ever know.
Oh, well, thank you. And I'm just so glad to be here. And to all your listeners, thank you for listening and being a part of this. And God is so good like this. He really
Amen.
What we need.
I know, he really does. Like, I've been really struggling with this whole purpose and what am I doing and all that stuff. So it was like kismet. It was like perfect timing that we got together. So thank you again so much.
Absolutely. I'm so glad to be here.
Did you love this episode of the Live with Audacity podcast as much as I did? I know you did. So if that's true, please head on over to iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts, subscribe, leave me a review. Please let me know how I'm doing, and I hope to see you next week.